Grace and peace. Welcome to another episode of the TBT Show. I'm Anthony Moten, my friend and brother and partner in crime, as always, is the Right Reverend Elder Sean P. Aguilar. Sean, how are you today?
Man, fantastic and phenomenal.
He is phenomenal while he swims in a sea called denial.
I want y'all to please pray for Moten. He's under a strong delusion right now. That's not, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible to see your friends, have these delusions, That's
Sean,
okay.
Sean
I'm sure you'll come
great.
out of it. I'm sure you'll come out of it.
Sean is great at giving the answer by describing the question. We're gonna get into it one week on the show. But
the ongoing argument,
and it's gonna be ongoing to the end of time.
To the end.
Sean just redefined what a basketball player.
That is not what happened. See,
that's exactly what happened.
Don't start off.
He just changed.
Don't start off the episode lying to the people. I mean, it's just not. It's not becoming of a man of your stature. It's not becoming.
Y'all pray for Brother Sean. He just, Lord Jesus, can't. We gonna call Sean as it relates to determining basketball players and who's good at basketball and who's not. Sean can't get right. We gonna get him right though. I'm gonna keep giving him the word until he receives it.
Okay, and
until he embraces it.
I'll keep sharing with you that which is true.
Hey, and, listen, there's a lot going on that we want to jump into this week. Again, thank you for being with us. Continue to like, share, subscribe. Whether you're following us on Apple Podcasts or whether you're following us on YouTube, continue to like and encourage your family members to subscribe, families and friends. Hey, listen, there's a story out about a New Orleans pastor, Reverend Charles Southall III, who just admitted to defrauding his church for almost $1 million, $900,000 to be exact. Said he conceded to defrauding his church and its housing ministry, his parishioners, and a charter school for almost $900,000, as he used it for personal gain. Sean, I see this kind of stuff is so, it's just funny. Anyway, have you read anything into this?
So basically, it wasn't all at one time, but he's pastored this church for over 30 years.
30 years.
And so he pled guilty to money laundering in the U.S. District Court. And the exact number, came out to just shy of $900,000. But, basically, somebody tied in 10 grand and somehow he diverted those funds. Yeah. And then there was another $100,000 that was donated to the church for charity and the building fund, church improvements, that type of deal. Somehow that made its way into a personal account of his. There was $150,000 worth of rental payments for some property that was owned by the church. Somehow that made it in as well. And then there was a sale of property that was more than half of the total. Somehow, some way, there was some property that was owned by the church that was sold, and $500,000 again somehow made it into his personal accounts. So total, the laundering was $889,565 that he moved from the church account to his personal account. So he's agreed to repay $687,000 directly to the church, and there's like $85,000 to the academy, the school that's operated by the church, and then there's some individual people just some individuals that he defrauded of a little over $100,000. But 10 years in prison is the legal penalty. And he'll be sentenced in January 17th to be exact.
See, and I'm interested to. There's a lot that isn't said in this article from.
It's from BET.
BET, yeah, but they got their information from NOLA.com. There's a lot of information that isn't on here. I would question a church that could move around this type of money. What were they doing for him?
And that was my first thought. Is when you see this kind of cash flow, you would imagine that the pastor's being taken care of,
right?
So
and so here's the two questions that I have, and maybe you know answers to. One, what were they doing for him on a personal level? And then two, if they were moving this kind of cash flow around, why was he doing it?
Right.
Like I see when you're small and you don't have much, but if you're moving around $500,000 at a time and you're selling property and 100,000 here and 100,000 there, whatever, it seems like you would have people in place to do it to make sure this type of thing isn't done, or even the threat of it isn't
right. I mean, I'm curious, who is also in administration, who's on the finance committee, who's the bookkeeper, it's like
you're moving this kind of bread.
Yeah, I mean, these are significant numbers to where it's like, hey, that makes a difference. Excuse me, Reverend.
Right.
What happened here? So I mean, this is a 136-year-old church.
Right. And then how was he able to? I know there's all kind of checks and balances and bells and whistles. I wonder, how was he able to divert funds into his personal account, diverting funds with $150,000 for rental payments, the $10,000 that someone, one person gave and parishioner in 2019, and then profits that were made from selling some other building, $500,000. Like, how was he able to divert that kind of money? And again, here's why this kind of stuff stings to me, and because you'll have a whole generation of people that are already looking for the church to have missteps, both with money and morally. And so when this kind of stuff is done, it just it confirms what a lot of people want to think anyway.
Correct.
About
the pulpit pimp and the all that type of deal. Exactly. So, and I mean, it shakes the confidence in the community. 30 years.
Yeah,
So this isn't like a young guy that just came in and kind of put the wool over your eyes.
Right.
I mean, this guy's the church is 136 years old. He's been there over 30 years. So it's it's a sad story to.
Yeah, I don't. And then and part of me is I guess kind of frustrated because if you sell some property and the church is enriched $500,000, you should the pastor should get some love without having to take anything. You should have people in place for that, and then he should be this is always a stinger for this generation. So I'm, praying for the people of,
Yeah, it's First Emmanuel Baptist Church.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's tough to, recover from that, because even, his successor, because there's no way I can see that he's going to,
not at all.
Continue.
One, they're not going to want to take care of him, and then two, they're going to watch him with both eyes. And so, and not just that, anything that looks like anything, people are gonna start, looking for the other shoe to drop. And this is just, this is bad for everybody involved. And then, for him, all of these, paying this back and paying that back, it's just.
And here's the problem with judgments, is that very few judgments actually get paid out.
Absolutely.
Like there's this whole deal with Alex Jones, it's like almost $1 billion. There's no way. Number one, that he could even pay that back.
Yeah.
And then number two, for whatever you do try to get, I mean, you're going to have a tough time trying to nail him down, for these payments, so even
if it ever gets to that point,
even if you get a judgment,
right,
you still have to collect on the judgment.
Right. And it's not, and then you're talking about if he's given and he faces up to 10 years in prison, if he's convicted. So if he gets 10 years, you're talking about sending a 67-year-old man, or 64. How old is he again?
64.
64. You're talking about sending a 64-year-old man to prison for 10 years. When he gets out, he's 74.
Right.
You're going to have a judgment. That's it.
Right. That's it.
Never any.
Because I mean, what is going to be his ability to earn income at 74 years old?
With a record now.
Right. So now you have, the main thing, the way he's earned his living thus far is being a pastor.
Right.
So that's out the picture. So, I mean, Walmart greeter is not going to cover $900,000.
It's not. Are you right? Because it's 687.
That's straight to the church, right off the rip.
85 to the academy, the charter school, and then 110 to individual victims.
Right.
So, and again, with everything that's going on in our world, everything that's going on in our culture, and how desperately our culture needs the church, this is just not.
And so, I mean, it's just
not a good look.
But I mean, this is why in the qualifications of pastor, he cannot have the desire for filthy lucre, because the temptation is there, and the greater the amount, the greater the temptation. And especially it's like, whenever you see, like, say for instance, I mean, anybody can fall to it, but you see somebody that's 64, retirement is nearing, man, it sure would be nice, right. And then you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar.
Right.
And big problems. So
and again, so here's the two edge, and we can move on from here. I hate stories like this, but here's the two edge. One, if you're moving that kind of cash, then it shouldn't be to any one person, especially not the pastor, but any one person.
Correct.
It should be moved by a committee of people.
Right.
And then two is like to make sure that's not going to be there's accountability. The edge of the pastor.
Right.
We're gonna take care of you.
Correct.
You know,
and that's another part that sometimes goes. I'm glad you said that. That goes because again, it doesn't make it right as a pastor. I mean, he should know the word,
right?
And I mean, it's pretty basic. Don't steal. I mean, we don't have to. You don't have to be a theologian, to understand that concept.
Absolutely.
But taking care of the pastor and putting in proper, policies, procedures, and personnel in place can greatly reduce the risk of these type of things happening. Because if you got someone that's taken care of, and again, we're not talking, when I say taken care of, I'm not talking about he's got an armor bearer for his Bible and an armor bearer for his code, and he has a personal driver and, all this different stuff.
Right.
But it's that he's taken care of to where he can live comfortably.
Right.
That he can devote himself to prayer and the ministry of the word.
The two things that the senior pastor is needed for the most, he is the voice of the church. He, when it comes to teaching and preaching, he's the voice. Then he's the visionary. I'm looking up the street, and especially if we're moving that kind of cash in this season, it's incumbent on the pastor to say, okay, well, look, maybe we need to do to prepare for this. Maybe we need to do this. We need to do that. So you need to focus on being the resident theologian.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be the voice, and then you need to be the visionary.
Right.
Everything else, we got it, Rev.
Right.
We good.
That's where you have deacons and committee members and these type of things. Right. No,
and directors and
right.
And let them do that, whatever. And then I hate to see it because somebody's gonna walk away from church and say, right.
See, I told you. Right. Exactly. When these are usually very rare instances, but I think it's important that, hey, look, I mean, these things happen, and it's a warning to those that are the reverend clergy to, hey, this temptation is real, and you too could find yourself and it may not be the same amount, but the amount to a certain degree doesn't really matter,
right?
And then also, now this is going to have to be damage control,
right?
Reputation management in the community, because now this church is going to have to rebuild, because him repaying that money depends on him still having it.
And if he took it, he ain't got it no more.
He probably spent it. Because if he had it, then it's just, okay, restitution is not really a big thing, because, okay, I'm sorry, I stole it. Here's the money back.
Yeah, let me put it back.
But if you have to get a judgment for restitution, he's agreed to pay restitution as part of his plea agreement.
That means
it all depends. So we'll see. That part's not really clear.
Yeah.
But he did admit to it at the very least. He did admit, his wrongdoing, and the legal process will play out.
Yeah.
Speaking of other people in legal scandals.
Hey, look, you can. I told you I'm not even saying his name no more. So
the artist formerly known as.
I ain't even calling him. Well, honestly, and I've just decided at the end of 2022, I'm not gonna let certain things and people take up residency in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So people have been talking about it on social media for the last couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to even think about it.
I think it is another cautionary tale, though. Yeah. Because regardless of the personality, the principle, at stake. But Adidas ends partnership with Kanye West at a considerable cost. So some people may not be aware, but Adidas is actually a German company. So the anti-Semitic comments from Kanye West and his refusal to back it down, like he is 10 toes down on and doubling down. He's been interviewed by Piers Morgan. He's been interviewed by Chris Cuomo. He will not back it down.
And that's because, and I'm gonna say this, and if it is a cautionary tale, this is one of the parts of that tale.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone agrees with you all the time and never challenges you on anything, that doesn't make that person your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that boy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say his name.
Kim's ex.
Yeah. I think he surrounded himself with people that will not challenge him on anything.
Yeah.
So in this particular thing, when people do call him and say, "Hey, would you stop? Would you chill? Whatever," he's not going to back it down because he's never had to look at anything else, with an objective voice in his head saying, "Hey, don't do that," or
right.
Even if you, and I'm not going to say because I've seen some crazy stuff on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you wholly agree with him, or even if you wholly agree with his right to say what he said, you ought to just consider how that makes other people feel.
And that's so. In America, we enjoy freedom of speech, but you do not enjoy freedom of consequences. So you can say whatever it is that you want to say, but you got to understand that the consequences that come along with that speech is also free to come right back at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, yes, it's your American right. You can say whatever you want to say. You're free to express yourself, but also other people are free to express themselves.
Absolutely.
And so he is attacked, a community of people and not an individual person. He's attacked an entire community of people.
Right.
And they have exerted their influence. And it's not just Adidas.
Of which
Adidas is just the biggest one.
Right.
So no more Yeezys.
Because Adidas came out and said that
they're pulling it off the shelves.
Right,
Foot Locker, they're pulling it off the shelves.
Right. And then I think he must have said something in an interview, and I'm not sure where, because again, I'm not spending that much time on you, that he was going to, it was his idea. He was going to take it, and Adidas like, no, we own it. The rights to that.
Yeah, they own the pass designs.
Right.
They own the colorways.
Right.
They own they have the right to produce more of the old stuff.
Right.
In new colorways, stuff that's been so there's I think a quarter of unreleased stuff that they have the right to do that. Does that make sense? And now I thought you were going to say something different than what you said. But he did make a comment on a podcast
about that he
couldn't be canceled. That he couldn't be canceled, and that the deal he has with Adidas is whatever, blah blah blah, and so they can't cancel me.
Man, that dude's crazy, man. That dude's crazy.
So this is Icarusian arrogance. This is you'd have to look back at the hubris of Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and his wings fell apart.
I
Kanye,
he hasn't shown the capacity to just listen to other people.
Right.
So now he's spinning everything. So if he said that I can't be canceled, that's just your head.
Right.
You can.
I mean, I saw 2 instances where he's being interviewed. And he's not liking the way the interview's going.
I saw the Piers Morgan thing.
And he stopped and he's like, la, 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 la. I'm like, this is childish. A child uses that technique.
Man,
so I'm a little concerned, which isn't new. It's not a new concern. But, what the behavior he's exhibiting, a lot of hubris, a lot of arrogance. I think he misunderstands that we're all interconnected.
Right.
Not just personally, but professionally.
Right.
And he's being economically embargoed right now. He's radioactive.
Right.
Nobody wants to touch it.
Right.
So he had a collaboration between him, Gap, and Balenciaga. Gone.
Out of there. I read on my way in that he had some involvement in a sports agency.
Yeah,
and the
biggest, Donda Sports.
Right, and the biggest one was
Donald.
I don't know about that.
He has denounced.
Really?
Yes.
I read the one
denounced.
Brown, JB, that plays for the Boston Celtics, has jumped.
Okay. Yeah, I heard at least 2 that they have, but Donald Rams out of there.
And see,
Jaylen Brown. Brown, both of them, Aaron Donald and Jaylen Brown's denounced.
See, here, I guess he's and a part of me feels a certain way, even though I'm super mad at him and won't say his name. We failed him, and I'm saying we failed him, the culture, because again, I don't care how much of a fan you become of a person and what that person's talent is, qualities are, whatever. At a certain point, we should hold everyone's, feet to the fire, right? Mm-hmm. So
accountability.
I mean, if something, look, I can feel a certain way, and I can express how I feel.
Right.
If that hurts someone else, even if I don't apologize for feeling that way, mm-hmm. I should at least apologize for making that other person feel a certain way. He has built this wall up,
right?
That he's a genius. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is stupid.
Yeah,
and he's above everybody. And he talks about himself like he's a messiah of sorts.
Yeah, he has a Messiah complex. He went on a rant one time and said something to the effect that he was going to buy the planet Earth. That he would make enough money to buy the planet Earth. And it's kind of like, Donald Trump said this, I alone can fix it. It's a Messiah complex. You get to a certain point where, because who's going to, in his daily life, who's going to tell him no? Other than Kim.
That's the problem.
Other than Kim.
And that's the problem. And I guess my frustration is how much more would how much better would he be if along the way someone challenged him and said, no, you can't do that. What are you doing? Don't do that.
Right.
No, but when you have this, when you surround yourself with people,
yes, men,
that will yes and support,
yes, sir,
and push,
yes, sir,
whatever
right away,
you
sir.
want,
yeah,
then you don't know what it's like to have that balance of, that maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, and I feel like we failed him because we, our culture needed a musical genius at the time, but if you go back and listen to College Dropout. He's a long way from being that guy.
Yeah.
A long way. And so again, man, I've even seen some stuff and I got some varying views on social media. I've seen some varying views rather on social media. Some people are talking about he doing this and it's a boss move. And then they talking about how free he said he feel. Hey, he didn't feel tied down or enslaved when he signed that contract to Adidas and made all that money from their collaboration. And I get it, and I hear some people tell everything ain't about money. It's not. Some things about just doing what is right.
Right.
And he hasn't done that either.
Yeah.
So, I get it, but it's funny to me. He said a few years ago that slavery was a choice. And nobody canceled him.
Right.
He said something anti-Semitic, and now he's canceled.
Right.
It shows you
but as I previously,
where we are on the scale.
Right. Well, as I previously stated, you made comments, okay? And again, you got a German company. They don't want any smoke from anybody Jewish. They already took their talking to.
Right,
Does that make sense?
Right.
So the last people group on earth that they want a problem with is Jewish people. Just the simple fact that they're a German company. You see what I'm saying? Number one.
We'll eat some fire back from you black folk.
Right.
But definitely not.
But here's the deal is that also because the Black American doesn't have a country. America's where we live, but it's not our country. Right. Does that make sense?
Right.
And which is unique. Everyone else, if you're an Irish American, there's still Ireland. If you're a Chinese American, there's still China.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
If you're Nigerian, there's still a whole other sovereign state. Where's the sovereign state for the black man? And then when you have the collaboration, so you've offended a people group that has a sovereign state, and they start linking up and saying, hey, this dude's talking about us. So the fashion mogul's talking to the record producer and this and that, and everybody calls their buddy that they know. And it's like, hey, something's got to be done. So organized, strategized, mobilized, and he's out. 30 to 40% of his net worth gone by the weekend.
Overnight.
It's going to happen.
Adidas
is willing to absorb the hit. Their stock is already down 4%.
Yeah.
And they're willing to take the short-term hit.
They know they're going to come back. Right.
Yeah, because it'll come back. Stock price will go back up, but they got a distance. And from what I understand, they tried to reach out to him directly. Bro, please. Stop it. Put down the shovel. You're just digging, Yeah. But, he told you in 2004, all falls down. So,
and
what it is.
And I guess, and we can move on from it. But I wish he would have heeded someone's voice a couple years ago. but I wish this would have been threatened a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when he said slavery was a choice, you just.
But see, that's the thing. We let it pass instead of organize, strategize, and mobilize and hold him accountable.
And some people gave license to it. When a month ago, when he had on that shirt, "White Lives Matter," instead of they gave license to it. Well, he's a boss. He's a free thinker. This and that, whatever. And we got to, especially as a culture and as a generation, we got to start calling stuff what it is.
What it is.
Like when we see, no matter who has it on.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Wrong is wrong and right is right. I mean, it just is what it is. But the problem is, again, there's no sovereignty in Black America. We're not a sovereign nation. So it's difficult when you have this part of the community and this part of the community, one's taken up and one's taken aback. And so there's no coordinated effort. So then it's allowed to pass because it's basically called to a draw.
Right.
We go to the court of public opinion and we have a hung jury.
Right.
We can't, but you go and say this about these other people, they figure out, hey, this is bad for our community. We're coming at you.
I hate to make the two sound the same or, whatever. R. Kelly wouldn't be in jail right now if we would have called it what it was and somebody would have challenged him. It was the Aaliyah. We put it under the rug, swept it under the rug. Events came out, stuff surfaced. Nobody challenged him. The video came out. We swept it under the rug, put it under the rug, and nobody challenged him. And then some other documentary comes out where he's still kidnapping, and it's like at a certain point, because again, my mom used to tell me, as a kid, but don't do something. Then the next time, she's gonna physically
she's gonna intervene in your reality
to show you that's not
right.
Don't do that. And I just think, when you let somebody get away with it with no consequences, this is what you end up with.
Right.
So he's a detriment to himself, to his family legacy, to, his kids' future, their betterment financially, and folks say what they want to. This is not a boss move.
It's not.
This is
it's
silly.
Not. Losing, almost half of your net worth off of, something that is completely avoidable. This is an unforced error.
Period.
Unforced error.
Period.
And to quote John Maxwell, talent is never enough.
Right.
He's talented. No one's gonna deny.
Yeah.
This guy is talented. Great mind, but talent is never enough. It has to be paired with tenacity. It has to be prepared with consistency. It has to be, paired with these other attributes that focus the talent and preserve the talent and develop the talent.
I've always liked him as an artist. He's competent, but competence will take you where character has to keep you.
Right.
He's always been jacked up in the head, and instead of someone catching him at the small jacked up stuff, saying, "Hey,
right,
brother, that's not how you want.
Right.
That's not how you want your name to be lived." That
Right.
So it went on and on and on, and now you got this. I mean, we had a bunch of rest trips, rest stops in the trip that somebody could say, "Hey, look, slavery was not a choice."
Right.
People died.
Right. If it was a choice, why did they have chains? You don't need to use chains on willing people.
It just doesn't make.
I mean, come on, man.
And so anytime anybody challenged them as a culture, we challenged them for challenging him.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
He's a free thinker. No, he's a non-thinker.
Because he's definitely one thing. He's not a long-term thinker, because this, played out terribly, and it doesn't make sense. Nobody wanted this to happen, but because he wouldn't, and he had several days to walk back the comments, And the thing is that I think part of it, he could have articulated the sentiment in a different way to still convey that he's upset at certain people in a particular community, or that he's had personal experience with this person or that person or this company.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And be upset with that. But why extrapolate? I had this contract issue with this record guy and this contract issue with this fashion guy. They just so both happen to be Jewish. So here's what I'll do.
Bada bing. I'll tie it all together.
I'll tie it all together and attack an entire community of people.
Bonfire. Man, listen.
Terrible.
Maybe a year ago, and I can't even remember what the surroundings were. Whoopi Goldberg said something, and she was trying to connect and correlate.
This is when she got put in timeout.
Yes.
2 week suspension situation. Yeah.
She was trying to correlate the struggle.
Oh yeah, it was something related to the Holocaust.
Yeah, the Holocaust and slavery.
Right.
And I don't think she meant to be insensitive, but it came off insensitive.
Right.
And so before they put her in timeout, when somebody brought up, hey, you know, this is how these people feel about this, they've been insensitive, Whoopi apologized for how it was taken.
Right. And she recognized her blind spots in terms of, hey, I didn't realize these aspects and how they were different. She accepted the accountability. She accepted the coaching. She accepted the information and allowed her viewpoint to be challenged.
Right.
You know, and clarified.
And to me, it's Whoopi Goldberg.
But that's what adults do.
That's my point.
That's what adults do, is that when you say something that someone takes that's offensive, and they bring to you valid point. I'm not saying just waffle,
right,
and just roll over, you know, because if you're gonna tell the truth, you're going to be offensive.
Right.
You cannot tell the truth without risking offense. You know, but
and I was trying to remember, because I don't think Whoopi apologized for what she said. I didn't mean to be right. I didn't mean to be taken like that.
She apologized for the content, not the intent. Her idea was trying to make a comparison. It wasn't properly articulated. These people, you know, got offended. And so she realized, okay, there's a different way I could have articulated this where it could have taken these things into account. I'm sorry.
Right.
In my view, she shouldn't have even been suspended, but they still suspended her. But she took it like a champ, and she moved on.
And let's move on.
But that's what adults do. People that are childish or children, what they do is they sit and they pout about, and they dwell on problems that they could have moved past
or could have fixed. And
they sit there and say, la, 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 la.
Boy, let me finish my sentence. Boy. I was like,
oh yeah, he's doing the boy. Yeah. That's.
And this is Piers Morgan going, okay, finish your sentence, man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm trying to stop you. You was headed nowhere. You weren't answering the question, whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Which is the sad part, because I felt like Piers Morgan was actually trying to help
him.
Now, here's the deal. In contrast to how he was dealing with Andrew Tate, where he was trying to trap him, trying to, you know, trip him up.
It was night and day, but he didn't even receive the help. You're coming at help aggressive.
Right.
That man's trying to help you out of the hole you're in.
Yeah, so crazy that Andrew Tate goes in. They're trying to intentionally, you know, trip him up, and he comes out looking better than Kanye.
And they're trying to help him. I said a couple weeks ago, last week. Was it last week?
What?
That I was never saying his name again?
Oh, I think you said that a few weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago? Okay.
We did. I think we discussed something last week, but I want to say maybe a couple episodes before that, you're like,
I ain't saying his
I'm
name.
done with this guy.
And again, I'm not saying his name.
A la Stephen Colbert. You know, Stephen Colbert, in for the Late Show, they don't say Trump. If he displays the name, it's like T********. You know, the asterisk.
Okay.
Yeah, like they like it's a curse word. You know.
Okay, right.
He does not say his name. He does not even spell his name out.
Maybe I should do that.
He who shall not be named.
Right. Just say East. You know who I'm talking about.
Right.
Hey, him squandering the bag is on him.
Correct.
The world was at his feet. He had opportunities I couldn't even explain anymore. And,
ridiculous, but again, so I remember American Gangster, one of my favorite movies, when Denzel Washington's character, Frank Lucas, sits down with the Italian gangster and he says, they're talking about, his predecessor, Bumpy Johnson, had died. And so it's chaos in Harlem and all this different stuff. And he says, who can live like that? There must be order. More important than any one man's life is order.
Yeah.
Kanye did not heed that, because what's more important, even though Kanye, the designs, I am not a fan personally myself, but obviously someone is. And there's someone wants to buy these shoes. Someone wants to buy these other fashion items. Someone wants to get signed to his, sports agency, all that different stuff. They want to be associated with Kanye West some way, somehow, for the product or service that he's put out into the marketplace. But when you're a billionaire, a multimillionaire, you're allowed to have that. Don't be under the delusion that it can't be taken away from you.
People give it,
people take it. And that's in your partners, the people you do business with. That's in your customers. You got to remember,
it's a working relationship.
Right. It's a working relationship. And all of a sudden, the relationship ain't working, because now you're putting other people, all these people at risk, and you're disrupting the order of things.
Right. Now the hate that's aimed at you,
we're getting the collateral damage.
And we're not going to take it.
We're not going to take it. So when you disrupt the order of things, you got to prepare for this kind of backlash, and everybody's stepping away from him.
I could hear him saying it though. He can't be canceled. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean,
I don't feel
is he still going to be wealthy? Yes, he's still going to be a wealthy individual.
We'll see.
But what I'm saying, because here's the deal. Eventually, after he's endured enough pain, after a while, we're going to see him come across with some revelation.
I don't think so. And that's why I say we'll see.
Well, of course, we'll see. We'll always see. So. I'm just looking at the pattern of what he's done in the past. Is that his pattern is to go through some type of trauma or drama, reinvent himself in the opposite direction, and then to try to capitalize on that. So I feel like
I'm gonna say this, and I hope I don't get no emails. I really, really think he's reached a mental break.
It's possible. It remains to be seen, because this is going to play out not over days, but this is going to play out over months and years.
Right.
But this is going to catch his attention. I mean, this is not something that you just, this page is stuck together.
Right.
When, you go from being a billionaire, let's say it was at 1.2, and you talk to your financial advisor, your accountant, and you're down to 700,
right,
650.
Right.
Or worse.
Right.
It's a hit.
That's a hit.
That's a hit. Now that's not going to change the car that he drives. That's not going to change. No. But it's going to make a big dent in some things that maybe he wanted to do, he won't be able to do anymore. Some things that he counted on, and just the public disgrace of it.
Right.
Because you got to think about it. He's also dealing with Kim, and he, is trying to deal with the kids.
That's $100 million.
So the Jewish friend of his children.
Right.
He's talking to his kids, talking about your dad.
Right.
Is a scumbag.
Right. And then then there's another, and not just the number value, but the connection value that we really can't enumerate. You don't know.
He's burned so many bridges. It's not even funny.
Bridges that he's currently on. You don't know what bridges were ahead of him.
Oh yeah, those are gone.
That are gone now.
Ones that he crossed over back when, they're gone. The ones he's on, they're gone. The ones in the front, they're gone. But I have a feeling that he's going to take some time, and all of a sudden he's going to come out reinvented, because he did this before. Comes out, reinvents himself, does the Sunday service thing, rides that wave for a little while, and then, okay, I'm bored with that. Okay, now let me do this over here.
Yeah. That we can go to the next thing, but here, I think the Sunday service thing we're easy to please.
Correct.
Slavery was a choice. Now let me sing a gospel song.
Right.
Okay, now it doesn't exist anymore.
It's okay. Right.
But other cultures aren't like that.
Correct. And that's what he's finding out, because he's trying to deal with other cultures the way he deals with Black America.
And
it doesn't work that way.
No gospel song is going to pull you out of this, buddy. So yeah. And I think he'll go so far and not see some result, and then he'll just go deeper in.
I mean,
I'm Kanye. That's it.
Which is fine. Nothing
else needs to be said. And then he might be living down the street from me after this.
We'll see.
He could be a neighbor.
Yeah, no problem.
He could be a neighbor. I wouldn't watch his house when he on vacation, but he could be a neighbor.
Right? Well, Kanye came over to borrow some sugar.
Not for me. Bro, I'm not going to even say your name, and you definitely can't have my sugar. Listen, we got some events locally.
Yeah.
Sean, I know it caught your attention, but it's intriguing. I want to see how this plays out too.
Yeah. Local leaders call Secretary of State inspectors voter suppression. So this is from the Houston Defender. And what they're reporting on is the Texas Secretary of State has, and this is John B. Scott, has put together a task force, and he sent a letter over to the Harris County Election Administrator's Office outlining plans that Boris Miles, State Senator Boris Miles, says will intimidate voters and election workers for the upcoming November election. The timing of the letter, a week before early voting, is incredibly suspect and could potentially disrupt the election process. So he also says that it was vague in terms of not specific on rules and guidelines as far as how this task force will operate. But yeah, so there's also a response that came from jointly from the Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, Harris County Attorney Christian Menifee, and Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo. They put in a letter, these actions appear designed to chill voters' trust in the election process in Harris County and to disrupt and intimidate the local election workers as they execute their duties to ensure the 2022 election is smooth and secure, as the Texas Secretary of State described the 2020 election at the time. So when they won, they said it was smooth and secure.
Right.
When they realized their guy lost, and irregularities.
Right.
But this just gives us a reminder of the importance of exercising your vote, and that there are people out there that don't want you to vote.
Right. And I think this event in and of itself is not alarming. And I don't think that's what, and maybe Boris Miles, felt that way, maybe didn't articulate it. That this by itself isn't, but when you couple this with everything else.
Well, when you have someone that denies that an election was free and fair, and then the next time around, you say, okay, well, let's put some extra layers to make sure that everything's on the up and up.
Right.
But you don't clearly outline how the task force is going to operate, who is on the task force, is it bipartisan, what are the checks and balances, but you just want to send people from the state government to go into city and county government to observe our elections.
Right.
But are they there to observe, or are they there to influence?
Right. And then, because now there's so many. So now the state is about to, just oversee the, small county, whatever. So it's just not oversight, but, oversight of a red state that's possibly going to be flipped
Right.
You know,
because Texas, it's not as good of a possibility as Arizona, but it could happen. And in Arizona, they have a candidate that is endorsed by Trump that's saying she would not certify certain elections, saying she won't accept, she would not agree that if she lost, she would accept the result. She said, I'll win the election and I'll accept that result, and repeated it and doubled down. But she would not even entertain the possibility that she could lose. And she's not the incumbent, by the way. So she's running for the seat.
It's just a bunch of games and foolishness and trickery. And so, and I'm with, Barstow at this point, like everything is suspect, especially when you've set up all these parameters to slow down, voter participation. Now all of a sudden you got this. Yeah.
I'm sorry, not senator, governor's race. That's what I'm sorry.
Oh, the
Arizona governor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's her name? Lake.
Yeah.
She was a TV personality for like 20 years. And it was kind of...
Really? What's her name?
Her name is Carrie Lake. Karile, Lake, Lake. And so she is running for Arizona governor. She's got the edge right now. But to have someone in any state, but a swing state that says, hey, look,
yeah, I'm not gonna,
I wouldn't certify. I can't guarantee that I'll certify. I mean, would you? And then she tried to turn it around on the reporter. Would you certify a crooked election? Well, why do you assume that it has to be crooked? I don't agree with the premise of the question. We're already getting that, and like she's been dubbed by some in the media already as Trump in a dress,
and she's gonna run that to the hill.
Oh yeah, she doesn't mind.
Let me take this opportunity to encourage all of us.
Please,
your vote is your voice. Your voice is your vote.
Please exercise your right.
Yeah,
your right to vote.
Get out and vote.
Early voting.
Yeah, it's already going on.
It's already open.
Let me say this. I believe November the early voting is October the 24th to November
4 days
the 4th.
Before Election Day.
So November the 4th, November the 3rd.
I think so. Let me check.
Sean's looking that up. I believe it's November the 4th is the last day, so that would mean November the 3rd. Polls will be open to midnight. For those that work late and can't, couldn't get out or around. I want to say it's November the 3rd. We'll confirm. I believe November the 3rd. Polls are open at midnight. Let me encourage all of us. Vote, not just vote. Early vote to make sure you don't have any hiccups. I believe one of the things that we're trying, that some are trying to do, is make sure that voting is difficult. Don't wait till that Tuesday to go vote, and then you can't stay in line because there will be lines. I believe the polls, and this is just a belief based on what we saw the last couple cycles. The polls on the day of, it's not an in and out process, and they want many of us in certain areas to not be patient on that day and just leave. So let me encourage you not just to vote, but go early vote. Make sure your vote is in and you're done, and so you're not waiting to the last day, the last minute, to put cast your ballot for the candidate of your choice. There's a lot of elections that matter a lot to those of us in the world, period, in the country, period, but especially to those of us who are in Texas. Probably the biggest one is the governor's race to those of us that are in Texas. And so
it is November 4th.
It's November the 4th.
Last day of early voting by personal appearance
is November the 4th.
Is November the 4th.
So November the 3rd, polls are open to midnight. So if you work late, like many of us do, and you can't make it, the polls will be open all day on the 3rd to midnight. So make sure you cast your ballot for the candidate of your choice. Of course, I cannot and will not influence your decision, but I will say, just please make sure that you avail yourself to as much information as possible, so you can go to the polls with a knowledgeable head about your candidate. And I believe what's in your head and your heart will be displayed in your hand by how you vote. So there's a lot of things that are up for our state.
Oh yeah. And it's gonna come down to it, because the Houston Chronicle's reporting that Beto O'Rourke trails Governor Greg Abbott by just 2 points. It is a close. It's gonna be a close race. It's a close race. So
Beto's my guy. He was my guy when he ran for senator against Ted Cruz, and I actually volunteered to heard him speak and loved him. And volunteered to work in his office. I believe he has some great insight for our state. But there's a lot of things on the table as a state, and that's why it's important how we're going to pursue gun laws.
Yeah,
and that's big for us in Texas. Those of us who are in Texas, we our children are getting
I will say that Beto's doing better than I thought he would.
Really, you didn't think he would do that good?
Mm-mm. That within 2 points in Texas. That's impressive.
I actually said there were some bad things that happened in our state that gave him the momentum that he needed.
No, I agree. It did, but I'm just saying at the onset.
Yeah.
At the onset of he announces he's running. I'm like, somebody's got to run,
right?
But I'm like 40% max.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
But man,
there's a couple clips. I love Beto. I love his position on several things.
He's doing well with independents. Independents prefer him 47% to Abbott's 41%. Because here's the deal: you're always going to have the base on either side.
Right.
It doesn't matter who's running.
Right.
Which we're seeing that in Georgia.
Right.
Herschel Walker.
Right. Because anybody that votes for him,
but it doesn't matter. The person doesn't matter. It's our guy in the position.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
There's some people aren't voting for the person; they're just voting for a principle.
Right.
So you're gonna have those people, and they're gonna, what's really at there's some moderate voters in each party, and then there's the independents. Those are the ones that can go either way.
Right.
Does that make sense? And so, which I'm sure it's helping. But here's the deal: polls don't win races.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
So at the end of the day, whoever it is, as you said, your candidate of choice, it comes down to votes.
Right.
Because we've seen, and especially now where there's conventional wisdom, you might as well just throw it out the window.
Right.
Because conventional wisdom said a lot of things weren't going to be that are or have been.
Right.
So
there's actually an event. Let me look it up because I saw it yesterday. And we can kind of shout out to it. It's one of my buddies. Northeast Houston. Let's encourage the community to vote and vote early. Early voting, early vote block rally, food trucks, live DJ, Sunday, October the 30th, from 1:30 to 5 o'clock, and that's being sponsored by Ken Campbell, who was a guest here, and his church, Household of Faith, Roderick Johnson and New Beginning Church, and Bishop Livingston and True Worship Cathedral. And that it'll be on or at 11295 Homestead Road. And again, that'll be the 30th. So those that are in Northeast Houston, go and enjoy that. Early vote block rally.
Real quick, minor correction. On November 3rd, polls are only open until 10. Harrisvotes.com, early voting. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. With the exception of October 30th, is 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And November 3rd is 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, because initially they said midnight. So, okay, again, on the 3rd, the polls will be open till 10, from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So please.
That's for Harris County.
Yeah, so if you work late, because that was one of the reasons that they did it. There were a lot of.
Also, legally, your employer has to give you time to go vote. They cannot fire you. They cannot penalize you if you can only make it during those hours. So I encourage you, please contact your HR department, ask your manager about the company policy. But legally, your employer has to allow you to be able to leave work. Now, you can't be taking all day, okay? But, they can allow you to go for the intended purpose.
When we break,
we break, right?
Yeah.
And so, no, I get it. But at the end of the day, the line could be really long. You never know. but just as please contact your manager or your human resource department, because don't let someone pressure you because, oh, well, hey man, you can't do that. I need you here at work.
Right.
Hey, look, time for business. Yeah. This once every 2 years that we do this, and legally they can't harass you or prevent you from exercising your rights as a citizen.
Right. So again, that's my encouragement to us.
Yes, sir.
As we get ready to sign off, please, ma'am, please, sir, go vote. If your skin has been kissed by the mother sun, people died.
Yes.
For you to have the right to vote. Please don't dishonor their sacrifice. Make your way out to the polls. Please go vote. And if you're not going to vote, don't say nothing about nothing.
Right.
When things begin to happen.
Right.
Because our vote is our voice.
Yeah, if you don't exercise your vote, then don't exercise your voice to complain later on.
Yeah, right.
Hey, man, you had your opportunity.
Right.
Speak now.
Forever.
Or forever hold your peace.
Hey. So listen, if you're in Houston anywhere, please go vote. Sean, you got anything else coming up?
Not in the next week or so. The main thing as far as closing out was the early voting piece, the importance of that. Lines are shorter, because things happen.
Yeah. Right.
Things happen the day of. Do not leave it to the last day.
Right.
Right.
And then let me give a big shout out, not just to Bishop Livingston and Bishop Johnson and Dr. Campbell, who are doing that early vote block rally on Homestead. Houston Med is doing Souls to the Polls.
Yes.
I believe that is the 30th as well. So big shout out to Houston Metropolitan Ministers Alliance is doing Souls to the Polls. I believe Northeast Harris County Ministers Alliance is doing From the Pews to the Polls. And I believe that is the 30th. So again, all of Houston, all of Texas, let's let our voices be heard at the polls. So again, that's my encouragement to us. If Sean, if you don't have anything else to to shout out, let me encourage all of us to continue to watch over each other, take care of each other. That's all we have is each other. And again, until we see you guys next week, grace and peace.